I guess we. All right. Okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you a few things and share some things with you, so you can understand equations, and you're talking about flipping homes and dealing with buying and selling. When it comes down to mortgage banking, there's always the rules, the equation of how a loan or how a deal is put together. So, for an example, let's say I'm buying a house, and I want to buy a house to rehab it. Now, you have what's called hard money lenders, and you have what's called BCD lenders. Now, BCD lenders are also, they're traditional banks, but their guidelines are a lot looser. Hard money lenders don't care about credit. They don't care about their hard money lenders lend purely against the property. It only lends to commercial businesses. It will not lend to you personally. So you just simply, for example, what I was taught early on in my career, whenever I bought a property, and I would name my business that property. So, for example, when I did my house in Somerset, I was building multiple houses. So my development was called the Estates at Bennett's Lane. Because I live on Bennett's Lane, and I was doing a bunch of properties. So I created an LLC called the Estates at Bennett's Lane. But if I bought a property on East Orange, let's just say on Prospect Street, my LLC would be 275 Prospect Street. It's always the address of the property. Let me tell you why you do this. If I'm buying a home, if you're buying my house, and I live at 268 Bennett's Lane, so I create a LLC. That's 268 Bennett's Lane, LLC. And I buy it low, and I want to sell high. Well, in the mortgage banking world, there's a thing called seasoning, and there's a thing called capital gains, and there's a thing called realty transfer. Now, seasoning means you can't sell that property. Some banks have 3 months, 6 months, a year. And I've been out the game a little bit, so I don't know what the guidelines are now. But back then, it was 6 months to a year, which simply means you cannot sell. You can't flip that house for profit unless you've kept it for at least 6 months to a year. The seasoning law says, I can flip it for what I purchased, plus whatever amount of money that I put into the property. So, for an example, if I bought a house for $100,000 and I put in $50,000, my total out-of-pocket expense is $150,000. Now, let's say the house is worth $300,000 because it's now complete. The seasoning says I can't sell that house for less than 6 months for more than the $150,000, regardless that it's worth $300,000, because that's the seasoning. How do I get around seasoning? I buy the house as 268 Bennett's Lane, LLC. I fix the house. The house is perfect condition. I'm ready to sell it. I sell the LLC. I don't sell the house. The LLC owns the house. There's no realty transfer. There's no capital gains. I sold the LLC for $200,000. You now have the only asset of the LLC is the property. Now you, as the end buyer, buys the house. And you now have a property. You now own the LLC, which now has the property inside of it. And then you can either resell, keep, whatever you want to do, and then you just deed it to yourself personally. If you're the end buyer, you take it out the business name and put it into your personal name. Get a regular mortgage on it. You keep it for 2 months, 3 months, and you get a regular loan. So you're buying what that's really good at is for those I'm gonna teach you how to buy some house without any money at all. Now pay close attention here. I'm giving you all my little secrets now. you find a property, you find a listing. So first of all, one thing you're going to have involved with HLC is you're going to be able to capitalize on all the relationships that I have developed over the last 35 years in being in real estate. I have a bunch of banks, realtors, appraisal companies that I get privileged information of foreclosures before it hits the tabloids. Because by the time a house hits the market, the foreclosed thing, well, all the big boys have already picked through that, and we're getting the leftovers. And what you're considered a deal may be you make $40,000, $50,000. That's considered a deal, but to the big boys, that's not worth even sticking your thumb in. So what happens is you get access to this list. Let's just say you're in Pennsylvania looking to buy a row. And now most banks are selling what's called blocks of property. So inside those blocks, you may have great deals, you may have not so great deals, you may have some deals upside down, but you weigh it all out. So let's say that you just want to you're just getting started, you're a little nervous, but you know what, you got a few dollars you want to play with. You now you work yourself with a realtor, and let's say the realtor has a property in Darby, Pennsylvania, and it's selling for $100,000. Its current value as is about $140,000. And if you put $20,000, $30,000 in it, that value will go up to $200,000 because of the market. Let's just say it's an older house, but the area, it's always about the area, ladies and gentlemen. It's never about the house. I can take $1 million home and put into a $200,000 area, and that $1 million house is only worth $200,000. I could take a $200,000 house and put it into $1 million area, and that $200,000 house is now worth $1 million. So it's all about the area. So when you're looking, you always hear the thing, location, location, location. That is an absolute fact in the real estate arena, especially if you're looking as an investor to make money. Don't get so fascinated with all the trinkets in the house. Oh, they got a jacuzzi tub. Oh, it's got this. That means absolutely nothing if it's not in an area that's going to generate the value that you are looking for. You can get a rundown shack that can be torn down, but because it's sitting in an area of $600,000, $700,000, $100,000 homes, you drop $100,000 in it, and now it's worth something. Let me give you a perfect example. My daughter, her mother bought a house 15 years ago in Washington, D.C., and it was a crack-fested neighborhood. She never lived there one day in her life. She bought this house for $150,000. 10 years later, right now, D.C. is going through some major, what do you call it? I think the word to use. When the whole neighborhood is being redone, and I'll tell you, they moved all the crackheads out. It was a beautiful brownstone, 3-level brownstone. It was 3 bedrooms, 3 floors. I mean, a beautiful home, but it was just in a terrible area at the time. She bought it for $150,000. She never lived there. She rented it out to some little crackhead downstairs who actually OD'd and died in the basement apartment. Never was too scared to go in the house. It just sat there dormant. That was in foreclosure for 8 years. At the time, the value between the foreclosure and what she owed went up to $275,000 as far as fees. Now, with all the area going on in that area, someone came in, paid her $350,000. So she made an extra just a little short of $100,000 on a house that she never lived in, never even stepped a foot in, a complete S-hole house. This person dropped $200,000 into redoing this 3-story brownstone. It's now 6 bedrooms, 3 baths, beautiful, beautiful home. Paid $300 some for it, dropped another $200, so it's out of pocket, which is $500. It's got it on the market for $1.4 million. And it's a bid war. It's a bid war on the house. He asked 1.3. Somebody offered the 1.3. Somebody else gets one. It's up to 1.4 on a bid war. something this person paid $300,000 for them and dropped $200,000 in. Why? Because they did their research. As a developer, what I used to look for before I bought a property, or before I bought land, or before I built a home, I always followed Walmart. I always followed Walmart. Let me tell you why. Walmart does extensive research on an area before it ever breaks ground on the store. They do demographics, they do searches, they do everything. I bought a property in in forget the name, Georgia now. It was in Georgia. All backwoods land. I paid $10,000 an acre. Bought 65 acres because Walmart was coming about 4 miles down the road, and I knew they had already did their research, and I knew if Walmart is coming, houses are coming, development is coming, even though the average person can't see it yet. It took me 3 years, but that $10,000 acre, once the Walmart store went in and all that area went up, that $10,000 acre went up to $45,000 an acre, and today it's over $100,000 an acre. So I was able to make some profit before the crash. So I'm sharing some things with you that if you're looking to buy and sell homes, these are things you want to look for. It's never, don't ever get caught up in the prettiness of a house. Don't ever get caught up in how raggedy a house is. Get caught up on the area. Get caught up if whatever you're looking at, you want to first do what's called a CMA. Let me type that, a CMA. How do I make this bold? Oh, yes, got it. Bold. Yeah, let's go higher though. Okay. So you're going to do is called the CMA. Okay, got it. 1 second. You guys can see this. Okay. Now, CMA stands for Consumer Market Analysis. A CMA is free. You call any realtor. Now, if your house is in a foreclosure, they call them BPOs. A BPO is what a bank uses to judge and estimate the value of your house or what they're going to take a short sale. A BPO is a broker's price opinion. So if you're ever going for foreclosure or anything like that, or bankruptcy, and they say I need a value, you don't spend the money for an appraisal, which is going to cost you $300 to $500. You can get a CMA or a BPO for you call any realtor, tell them you're thinking about selling your house, they'll do a CMA for free, just to give you an idea. If you're looking to buy a house, if you're shopping around in areas and you have no idea about the area, find the local real estate office. Tell them you're in the market in this area. What are do you have a CMA? Let's say if you don't have a particular house in mind, just grab a house that's near where you're looking, the area you're looking in, and get a CMA on that house so that you have an idea of what the value is. The CMA is going to give you a low, a medium, and a high. So that way it gives you an average. It lets you know how much money to put into a property. So now if you're looking and you're trying to obtain some financing, let me give you some little tidbits. I found a house that's at 35 Main Street. So 35 Main Street is listed for $100,000. It's listed for $100,000. So it's listed for $100,000, right? And at the $100,000, I want to put an offer on it and take it off the market. So I'm going to offer $100,000, but I only put what's called the earnest deposit of $1,000. The $1,000, that's my deposit. I want to buy this house as 35 Main Street, LLC. So I created an LLC, the 35 Main Street. I then turn around because this house currently, it's currently worth $145 current value. I want to make a quick $10,000, $20,000 on it. I find another investor. I sell this property. I'm in contract for $1,000. I sell my LLC to a new investor for $120,000. He takes over my real estate, my contract. He closes out the contract. I only invested $1,000. I got my $1,000 back, and I made $19,000. You got 10 grand, you can put this on 10 different houses. You buy 10 houses at the same time with that same 10,000. You make a quick $10,000 of profit each one. You make yourself 100 grand in 90 days. This is the stuff I'm going to teach you with our Flip That House product. These are things I'm going to show you how to buy OPM. You'll never forget these words, OPM, other people's money. Teach you how to buy houses with other people's money. Now let's look at this one. Let's say I taught you how to create a LLC. You want to get your feet wet. You actually want to go through a whole process. There's ways to buy property. Let me give you an example. I bought my development at the sale. I'm going to give you the equations. And then I'm going to teach you how to buy and make money on the house that you're buying on the sale price. Now, for example, rule of thumb. This is the banker's rule book. The banker's rule book says, especially for hard money, they lend money against the property. They don't care nothing about you. They don't even run your credit report. They don't even care about your credit report. It has nothing to do with credit. It's purely the asset of the property. So you find an amazing deal. You know somebody's going to lose their house, and it's an amazing deal. The balance of the mortgage is very low. They only owe $25,000 on their house. Mortgage balance. They're about to lose it anyway. You offer them to sign it over to you. To sign over to you, you're going to give them $10,000, which is more than they're going to get. With the lose, they're going to get nothing anyway. $10,000 to buyer, but the house is in terrible condition. Terrible. It needs $100,000 in repairs, just to be brought up to code. So here's your total expense out of pocket is 100 plus 25 plus the 10. So 135, well, 135,000 is what you need total. Right? This is what the banker law says. We will give you well, back then it was 60, depending upon the area, 65 to 70, to say 70% of acquisition. We're going to give you 100% of repairs. But those two numbers has to be 60% or less total value, total finished value. So let me make this make sense to you. In this case, my acquisition was $35,000. Remember, $25,000 paying off the mortgage, $10,000 to the buyer. So my acquisition was $35,000. was my acquisition. They're going to give me 70% of that. So just what's 70% times 35,000? 70%, 70%, 35,000 times 70%. So you're going to get 24.5. That means 35, 10, just a little short of 10, 34, 10, 10, 5, 10, 5 out of pocket. Out of pocket. So you're going to get 24.5 from lender. They're going to give you the whole 100,000 for repairs. Huh? $100,000 for repairs. Your total out of pocket at this point is $124,500. What their lender is saying is that we'll give this to you as long as your finished product, the finished value of the house after all repairs are done, is at least this number can't be no more than 60%. So for an example, give me 200,000 times 60%. 20, give me 210,000 times 60%. So 210,000. If the house is valued at 210,000 value, finished value, 60% of that is 126,000. So that means your property got to come in about 209, 208 minimal to get this amount of money. So that's how you know and that gives you plenty of room to mess up with. So let me teach you how to buy this money with no cash. Let's say you have an amazing deal, and this house is going to be worth $300,000 at the end of the day. Finished value, because you bought into a great area, and your finished value is going to be 300,000. Give me 300,000 times 60. So your borrowing power is 180,000. That's your borrowing power based on your property. Has nothing to do with you. Just based on your property. That's your borrowing power. Based on this property. So then you turn around and you make your acquisition, or you pad your repairs. But I would make my acquisition a little bit higher. If I know I'm giving 25 to the buyer, 25,000 payoff, I'm giving 10,000 to the buyer, I'm going to tell the buyer, listen, I'm going to do some pre-app work, and in my acquisition, I'm going to have reimbursements of work already completed. For an example, when I bought my property, I bought 24 acres in Somerset, New Jersey. I bought it for my cost was $600,000. My estimated construction was going to be $2.5 million to erect 5 houses. I had roads, I had curbing, I had foundations and septics I had to put in. I had street lights I had to put in. So I made a deal with my buyer. So I was paying. My agreed price to him was $600,000. That was my agreed sales price for my development. I got him to sell the house or agree that I put $250,000 in pre-contractual improvements. What is that? That meant I came in, I did a little paving, I dug a few holes, and I called it prepping. So that's $850,000, which now showed up as acquisition costs. Now that pre-contractual improvements probably cost me about $5,000. My bank gave me 70%. Give me 70%, 850. 850 times 70%. I got $595,000 that they were going to fund up front. Before I closed, I had $2.5 million in construction. I sold another $150,000 in soft costs. Now, soft costs, when you're developing a house, is considered of attorney fees, what's it, the EPA stuff, the architectural and design, engineering, and escrow reserve. As a developer and as a person buying a home, you always want to do yourself a favor and generate a interest reserve, minimum 6 months, because you may think you can flip the house right away, but if you get stuck, the last thing you want to be worried about is making a mortgage payment on an empty property. Especially if you've tied up all your money. What can go wrong will go wrong. So I always had a 6-month interest reserve, which simply means my mortgage payment was going to be, in my case, my mortgage payment was a little over $21,000 a month. So I took an interest reserve of over $100,000. And that was building houses in the days of hard money. Hard money back in the early 90s was 24%. So you do the math, 24% on $3-some million. My payments was very hefty, $21,000 to $30,000 a month. Now, let me show you how I walked away. At the closing table, I walked away with $100,000. Because of my soft costs, I showed another $125,000, which is also built in to your acquisition. So as far as the bank's mind, the bank didn't care because my numbers worked. Because even after doing a $2.5 million on top of this for the build out, my final value at that time when I was building in the height of the market in Somerset. The area that I chose to build in was $1 million area. All the houses down the street that just was built by Toll Brothers, they started at 700, and in 2007, 2006, when I went to contract, those houses were selling for 1.1 to 1.4 million. So my valuation was based on what was currently selling. I was going to do a total of 5 houses at $1.7 million a house. So my total value finished product was $5.5 million, which meant I was able to borrow up. Take it back, because I got another $1 million on improvements, because I did the street lights, I did lamps, I did a whole new street. So I got $1 million in improvements. So a little over $6 million finished value, which they gave me a $3 million line for, $3.2 million to be exact. I got a $3.2 million line for, of which I was able to take over $1 million out right at the front, right at the door. My only out-of-pocket cost was $600,000. I did pay those soft costs, which really ran a little over $100,000. But at the door, at the closing, when I closed, I purchased this property as a development with no money out my pocket. I made $100,000 the day I bought my development. That's what I'm gonna teach her to do. OPM, other people's money. So even though today's class, our mortgage class got closed, I hope you got some education on buying and selling houses. These are some of the things that we are going to bring to the marketplace for you guys to learn. And as we go into buying and selling, and as we get deeper and deeper involved with this, we're going to put some things together. We're going to show you how to do some deals together and really, really help you become whole. And the biggest one for beginners is this one right here. is buying with no money. When you buy, put the $1,000 deposit, you buy the property in the property name, you put $1,000 deposit on it, you hold that property, take that property off the market, and then you just resell it. You just advertise that same property and you resell the LLC. So there's no change, doesn't have to close. You're just, this person's coming to you is buying 35 Main Street LLC, and what does 35 Main Street have? It has one asset, and it has a contract for that property. And that contract is your contract now supersedes that one. Because what happens is when you now sell the LLC for $120,000, you now pay off the $110,000 or $100,000 that you had on the realtor. You now own a property, and this guy gets the property free and clear, and then they put the money into it and build out. But you've made your quick $10,000 or $20,000. You can do that all day long. You do that 5, 10 houses, you made yourself $100,000. Easiest, simplest way to do it, especially if you have the network. And what you're going to find through here, by just finding deals, sweet deals like this, you just find the deal, you can make yourself a couple 10, 20 grand. That's why the purpose of me putting together a network like for this is because you never know who knows who. People will look, and people you have, remember, we're going to have 14,000 people searching for property. We get to pick and choose. We get to use some of the members, and you say, "Listen, Josh, it's your turn to make your 10 grand. Cal O'Malley, it's your turn to make 10 grand. This was your turn." We get to pick and choose. You put the $1,000 deposit, we put the property in the name, we flip it to the other buyer. It's that simple. It is that simple. So I hope this information has helped you guys. I'm excited about where we're going. I'm excited about what we're about to bring to the table. Our launch is October the 14th, homes, loans, and credit repair. And I'll tell you something, guys, this is going to be a game changer. It really, really is. Now that I got my lawsuit thing behind me and we're able to go full steam, I'm telling you, just mark my words, just follow our lead. This real estate, this is my passion. I grew up in real estate. I made all the money. I made the bulk of my money in real estate. And I know it like the back of my hand. So to be able to get back into the game that I love and to be able to share and help others make a few dollars too, it's a win-win all across the board. So thank you guys for plugging in today. I will send the playbacks for the last class, and I will send the playback for this class. I just want to thank you guys for taking some time out. Even though, life throws you lemons, you make lemonade. We did not expect the class to be canceled today, but hey, you got an education on flipping houses and hard money loans and real education, because I've done it, I've lived it, and I experienced it. God bless you guys. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you guys soon. This webinar is officially